It's finally happening. The big block swap in our 1969 Oldsmobile Cutlass. Now, this is something that the fans been waiting for a while. I promised it a long time ago, and we finally got around it. Now, just a little bit of kind of a update for everybody on the car. The car was picked up in Oakland, California, about 3 years ago by me and my buddy Sergio, and on the first night bringing it back home, it broke down in true skeptical mechanic fashion. Now, the car did sit down in my property for about a month till we kind of got around to getting it running, and turns out that the Holly it had was completely clogged, so we just picked up a new one, slapped it on there, and the car hasn't stopped running since. Now, after we started driving it around, we learned that the suspension was original from 1969, meaning that the ball joints and bushings, tie rods, sway bar, everything was original to that date, and it was so bad. The suspension had about 3 inches of play every time I turned, and it was running drum brakes all the way around, meaning that the braking was very dangerous. But once we did a disc brake upgrade on the car, it got a little bit better. We started taking care of the engine mechanically. Hey, maybe let's take care of this thing. It might last a little bit longer. Then when we did that, we started craving burnouts, trying to get the car to spin him and do very good burnouts, but it didn't really do that. It spun him for a little bit, and then it'll wheel hop terribly to the point where like the cabin felt like it was gonna fall apart, and it wasn't enough. Now, that being said, it did get him spinning, but it wasn't good enough for us. I've been known to do my fair share amount of burnouts. I had a 75 Nova, and that thing was badass. It'll just light him up, and it was always fun to drive that thing until I sold the car for parts because I killed the engine. But that being said, we figured we need some power for this thing, so we thought, what's the best way to put cheap power on a car? A big block. So me and my buddy Sergio again went out to Hollister, California, and picked up an original 1985 454 Chevy off of a C30 dually truck. Now, this thing is smog era, so it's a turd. It's very, very slow, but we thought it's good enough. Like 250 horsepower, we can live with that. Now, after we picked up the engine, we brought it back home and just kind of removed all this stuff that was garbage. We really thought anything that's original to 1985 has to come off, so that's what we did. Parted out the whole engine and just kept the bare bones, so my buddy Dre can rebuild it for me, and he did. Man, took about 2 months and took a pile of crap and really polished it up into something very nicely. Props to Dre for doing all that for us. Now, after Dre built the engine for us, we thought, okay, it's a good time to swap the engine, but we didn't do that. It took us about another year of just working on the engine, dressing it up, and buying the right parts for it so it works in a Cutlass. So it was a lot of like just kind of slight modifications and just kind of test fitting everything, make sure it works fine. Now, in that whole year I was just messing with the engine, I also had the idea of maybe start working on the paint job. And a lot of you guys know me, I'm not a good body work person. I start something and I never finish it, and in classic fashion, that's what happened this time. I started sanding the body and didn't get back to it because I'm lazy. Now, after we did store the engine and figure everything else out, we did kind of accomplish something beautiful. We got some badass vintage Moroso valve covers. We got some like white marshmallow style headers in there. They're probably gonna burn and look like trash later, but it's good enough for right now. So even though we did have a hard time trying to get the engine together, it's finally time to finish the big block swap. Now, I do know I did promise you guys a Muncie 4-speed, but that's not coming till later. In the name of getting the big block in the Cutlass soon, we're gonna wait for the transmission to be pushed back till later this year. But for right now, we're gonna stick to the engine, try to get that right, and then focus on swapping a 4-speed in there. Something I do want to point out is also in another true skeptical mechanics fashion, we completely ignore the fact that our microphone wasn't working properly, and the whole half of the first half of the video, the noise is a little bit muffled. I do beg you guys to bear with it. It does get better about halfway in. We figured it out and we started using a different microphone, and it sounds a lot better. But you guys might see us do a lot of voiceover on this episode just for the sake of everybody's ears. So enjoy. So yeah, we're gonna get started. We're gonna get our list and get this thing started. Now our first challenge is gonna be removing the headers, disconnecting them from the engine. And what I want to do is I want to pull as much as we can out of this engine completely. We're having to tear a bunch of shit out of it because we're gonna be using this engine for another car I have in storage right now. So it's gonna be like basically 2 engine swaps. We're gonna recycle this engine and put it in something else that needs a little more horsepower, but that's something you guys are going to see on the next episode. For right now, we're going to get kind of started here, and then we'll get back to you guys. Go for it, So Serge's there taking care of the... Oh, there you go. That's a lot. It's filling up very fast. Did you take the drain?
Yeah, drain off of it.
Okay.
It overflows. I'm not even showing anything. 90% of it fell in.
Yeah, like 90% of it, 10% is on the ground. Where I still gotta lay down and take off the drain plug for the oil.
I mean, we gotta check mats.
Well, if you guys doing this, just remember to do the engine oil first.
No, but I mean, it's like it on in. It was just too much at one time.
That shit just fucking flew out. Bro. We should have fucking opened this.
This is gold, bro.
It's gold.
Yes, sir.
So actually, this is not a bad engine. It
No.
Don't take us wrong, guys. This 350 has been very reliable for the last like 3 years on a daily. Wait, guys, when I say I daily drive this thing, I daily drive this thing. If I gotta go to the city or drive to San Jose, like 20, 30 minute, 40-minute drives, I take this fucking thing. I don't pussy out. This thing goes on the road with a 3-speed on the freeway. Very slow, but I take it. So, you know, it's a good engine. It's just boring. Doesn't do any burnouts, because I don't know if you guys noticed, I got pretty big meats on the back. 275s, or they're not big for some people, but for me they're pretty the biggest size of tires I ran. And this little guy struggles a lot to like get them to spin, so we're gonna change that. We're gonna get a big block.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we are removing the header bolts so we can remove the headers from the engine. The idea is that by removing the headers, there's only a few more things we gotta remove, like power steering and stuff like that. The top radiator hose, and again, we're trying to remove this as a whole piece as we can. I mean, I'm pretty sure the distributor might have to come out because of clearance issues and so on, but I mean, it's also not safe to have the distributor on when you move the fucking engine. Last thing you want is that thing to hit something and then fucking break in there. But anyways, just keeping everybody posted. It's gonna be a while before you guys see the next clip here. We're probably gonna have a lot of stuff off. So see you guys in a bit. All right, guys, this is the progress so far. Carburetor's out, wires, we're taking care of the fan and the shroud. Hoses are disconnected, and again, I'm trying to leave as much of stuff as I can there because we are going to reuse this engine for something else. Maybe change the oil pan gasket because it leaks like fucking crazy. But so far it's going good, guys. This carburetor was brand new when I got it, like three years ago when I got the car. This thing, we drove it all the way from Oakland, and then it just died on us. Like what, like 10 minutes from
5 minutes driving?
5 minutes, 10 minutes driving, it just fucking died on us. And that was because the carburetor was complete junk. So I got a direct replacement from what it already had. It's a 650 Holly, and it fucking right away it just started running, like it never stopped running. after I put this thing in here, this engine's just been reliable as hell. That's why it's gonna go on a different car. Let's see, got all our stuff here. Actually, I don't want to get any gas on that. Probably put that fucking fan. I don't give a fuck about that fan.
All right, guys, we're back. And as you guys can see, we took out most of the shit from the engine. We disconnected the headers. We just disconnected the headers from the exhaust system. And now we did the torque converter bolts, which we had 3 different type of bolts, and we forgot about it.
Yeah, it was a lot of tools we had to use for torque
so
converter.
we had to dig into toolboxes and look for all the tools, but we got it done. So the last thing we gotta do now is take out the transmission bolts and the plate bolts that we have there, because we had adapted into a plate.
Yeah, that's the that plate is used for Oldsmobile transmission, Oldsmobile block to
a
Chevy
Chevy
transmission. Legend has it that back in 1969 and the 70s and 1980s, if you wanted a lot of power, you needed a big block. Now, far gone are the big blocks because of LS power and big turbos and stuff like that. Still some of us out there that see the beast, the legend, 454 big block Chevy. Now, a lot of you guys seen this thing on pictures and on social media, and we actually promised you guys a big block swap on the Cutlass about a year ago, more than a year ago. And I can't tell you guys how much of a pain in the butt it's been doing research, getting parts, and just kind of storing this thing for the last year. So finally gonna happen. So you guys already saw we took care of stripping most of the stuff on the Olds 350. It's gotten to the point where we just gotta remove engine mounts, and this thing's gonna come right out. So next steps is taking off the hood, getting the hoist, and pulling this poor thing out, because it's been abused and it's been a workhorse for a while. So it's time to give it a little break and then completely destroy it with a different project car. So making progress is a big step for me. That's it, guys. That engine ran way before I got it. It's fucking just kept going. I run the numbers on it. It's actually an original 69 block. I guess it's more desirable. But yeah, that's it. Piece of junk there. Again, this thing's gonna be recycled. It's not gonna be just dumped somewhere. We're gonna take care of it, but that's another episode. Anyways, just wanted to show you guys. So you can see, that's how it was in there. Stuff in there.
One hooker is all?
Yeah, those are actually original hooker headers. The flange is on the other one, the little hooker header flange. By this time, we got around getting the big block out of the van. Now, once we got it out, we figure, oh, let's install the flywheel. And remember that we didn't have any red thread lock in stock, so we had to do a trip to the parts store. Luckily, we did find some, but by the time we got back, it was already dark. Luckily, our friend Fernando did join the party to help us seat the big block into its new home. As always, he's always glad to help us out. Now, we did get the flywheel in there, so you guys can see. We're getting ready to seat the engine. And remember that, my precious white headers had to go in there. Now, this was scary because they were perfect, they were flawless, and they had to go into a very greasy and dirty frame, which they got incredibly dirty as soon as we sat them in there, to the point where it was very painful to look at, but hey, it had to happen. So once we got the headers seated and figured out, we started lowering the engine, and sort of ran into an issue. As we're going in there, we're trying to find like the right way to seat the engine in there, you know, so where it lines up with the mounts and also the engine mounts. But we're having such a hard time, you know. We keep pushing the engine back, we keep coming through the side, and you know, it's just not lining up. You know, we end up being too close to the transmission, or you know, too far out, and the frame mounts are just way off. So, you know, after a little bit of thinking, you know, we're starting to realize that, hey, you know, this is not going smoothly at all. You know, we messed around with this engine. It's hanging on a chain, and, you know, it's going back and forth. And it's to the point where we're getting sloppy because we're already tired. You know, it's cold. It started raining. It's dark. So, you know, I start doing a little bit of reading on my phone, and I'm like, you know, let's hold on. And reminded myself that there was one thing I did forget, was that the mounts for a big block Chevy and the frame mounts for a 69 Oldsmobile Cutlass are not compatible. No matter how much you try, they are not gonna line up because they are way off. The holes are there for a big block mount on the Cutlass frame, but they won't work with the small block mount, which is something we had to learn the rough way that night. So naturally, we wrapped up the night, put everything away, put the engine back on the van, and called it a night. Didn't really touch anything for a while, but you know, at least we got to pull the small block out. All right, there you guys can see it. Big blocks in. Thanks to homie Edgar here. Always
mechanic over here.
Skeptical mechanic number 3. Always comes through when it comes to wrenching. Boy shows up and says, let's get shit done.
Fuck yeah, man.
We're only missing Sergio, but Sergio's working, guys, so you know, can't blame him for that. But we had actually come out through the side, and because it was easier, because this you know, guys know Cutlasses have this like bumper here with like a tooth or whatever you want to call it, and it kind of pushes it out. Also, mounts, everybody, please listen to what I'm saying here. If you're doing a 454 swap on a Cutlass, make sure, it didn't make sense to me because me being me, but you gotta use Chevelle big block frame mounts and big block 454 engine mounts. You can do small block. I mean, some people say you can do the small block. That's what I thought at first. Didn't work out for me. So just giving you a heads up, if you are gonna do this on the weekend, don't let your weekend be killed because you didn't have the right parts. Get Chevelle frame mounts and engine mounts. Also, the holes were perfect. We didn't have to drill anything weird like that. It just worked out. Transmission looks to be on the right spot. It honestly couldn't work perfectly. Look at all the space here for the radiator fan and all that crap. And the only issue might be hood clearance, but we'll worry about that next time.
We just got something and we're done.
Yeah. So right now, this is all we're doing. We're just dropping the engine, cleaning everything up because it's getting dark. We'll be back tomorrow. We're off and we can do a little more, but right now we're just gonna wrap it up. We just wanted to sit it here so we can move the van and so on. So it's a long story, but you guys will see us next time when there's light. All right, guys. Beautiful day in Cali. You guys already know. Look at this beautiful weather. Aren't you guys jealous of us? Anyways, too much showing off. Well, like you guys saw, big block is in. And look at those headers. They are disgusting at this point. You guys remember I painted them, me and Sergio painted them ceramic white. And Sergio advised to put like 3 coats of clear coat on them, which actually ended up saving our life because that dirt and grime cleans off. Meaning this thing can pop again and look really good before we fire it up. But can you guys believe This fucking big block just stuffed in there like a glove. And looking back at when we did the god damn it, keep saying I instead of we. Serge over here is looking at me like, fuck you.
Taking all the credit.
Taking all the fucking credit. Nah, everything we do on this thing, my friends help me out. But anyways, yeah, that booster is clear. It clears because it's the smallest booster I can get, and it clears those valve covers. Otherwise, they'll be bashing each other, and that would have been a pain on the ass. Second, the mounts were a fucking nightmare because I didn't do my research correctly like I always do. But anyways, right there, everybody, is sitting the list of all the crap we gotta do so this big block runs. And it goes the other way too. You can flip it, Sergio, show them. It's got more shit. So I think we can scratch off a couple of things. What is it, Sergio? We already did headers.
Headers, beating, mounts.
You got the marker?
Yes, sir.
You can make it official.
Alright, so headers.
Bam. It's fucking scratched off.
And mounts.
Boom. What else? We don't got much shit left.
Well, other than that, it's just smelting the tranny. Transmission kit is already done for the transmission.
Yeah.
So that one basically is just
shifted, yeah,
out of the way. Steering wheel pump, we need to work on that. Steering pump, all the rest of the stuff is just small little things. We can cross this one. We can just put dots. So already swap in there. I mean, it's just putting everything back together basically. Yeah. Exhaust pipes, we still need to work on that.
Yeah, they don't line up like we hoped for. I mean, obviously, but we're gonna have to go get a weld the exhaust on. But that's the least of our concern.
Transmission is done. This one.
Yeah.
This one is crossed out. So basically, it's just like 20 more things we gotta go through. But they're small things. So, which means it shouldn't take us long. And then plus we're gonna take our time as well, so we can do everything correctly. Everything is working fine. And then at the end of the day, basically what we're gonna do is just put the fluids and then put everything together. Have our friend Jay come over, help us turn it on, and then that way Fidel can start breaking in the engine. And if everything goes to plan, this puppy should be running pretty soon. Pretty soon. With no exhaust first, only headers.
Yeah.
Until we get it to the shop.
Yeah. No. So surprisingly enough, like the headers fit without having to bash them or beat the fuck out of them, which is really good. Honestly, we just lifted the car really high and they came in through the bottom. Everybody said do it when the engine's being dropped, but it was dark. It was too much of a pain in the ass, so we just did it afterwards. They're dirty as hell. Don't take me wrong, but if you're running black headers, doesn't matter.
Yep.
But for us, we're gonna have to spend some time and clean those up. On that's kind of your little update. We'll do some more work here and just kind of try to keep you guys posted as we go. It's kind of hard to get some angles nowadays. We don't got a camera guy, so we try to record. Still don't have a camera guy. Try to record as we go, but I know you guys want to see more of the technical stuff, like us talking about certain things and installing it, and get a good angle so you guys can see it. But that's coming eventually on the channel. Get some better footage for you guys. We're trying to get better. Just finding some good time. But anyways, that's it for right now.